Hello, and welcome to episode 228 of Checkpoint Chat. We're back after 2 months almost off.
My God.
My name is Alessandro Barbosa, and I'm joined by a British Matthew Figuera.
I'm not going to give you a British accent.
You've just
Not
arrived.
today.
They can't kick you out yet.
Oh my God, yeah. Let me just survive my British probation, and then that's cool. I just realized, hang on, I don't have my stopwatch. Let me just pull that up quickly. This is multitasking. You know,
Listen,
you don't podcast.
we are shaking off the rust here. We have forgotten how to do this thing that is
really
podcasting. And Matthew is also working with technically one hand behind his back, given that he doesn't have his PC yet. He's off a laptop. Things are different. Things are weird, and his monitor's in a different position. He doesn't know where to look.
If I'm looking up, I'm sorry. It's no longer left and right. It's up and down. So just
at
work
least you
with me
haven't put
here.
like my video feed up there, so you're like looking up the whole time. You know what I mean?
I know that was intentional because I did have it set up, and I was like, it'll look like I'm just staring at the logo.
Did you end up getting the same monitors that you had here? Or
so I have, I've got like a normal, so they're both 24 inch. Okay. Hear me out. At home, I had a beautiful 27 inch Dell, 165 hertz, 2K monitor. And that monitor is very expensive here. So I ended up getting the 24 inch purely because it was £60 cheaper. So it's like £130, which even in South African rands is like nothing. It's like three
that's like
grand,
what,
3 and a bit grand.
3,000 rand, yeah.
For like a really nice, because it's essentially just a smaller version of the monitor I had at home. So I'm like, that to me is an absolute steal, and it was less than half the price. So I've got a 24-inch gaming monitor and a 24-inch normal monitor. With the idea that, Black Friday's coming, or, I don't need it right now. I can always pick up a nice bigger monitor if it's on sale. I'm not going to rush out and buy it. Yeah.
That makes sense.
But yeah.
It's just a 1080p monitor then at 24 inches. Yeah, that's more than fine. And you're sitting so close to it as well that it probably wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, what the trade-off is that in South Africa, I had a 2K monitor, and my PC setup was like our lounge. That's where we watched movies and series, whatever, because we had a couch, I suppose, similar to, but the room orientation is going to be different. But we are going to actually get a TV here. So I wasn't too phased. Yeah, so I wasn't too phased about 2K because like on PC gaming, I'm okay with normal, I'll say this, but I'm very excited to have
a 4K TV.
I'm very excited to have
hook up
TV
like a PlayStation.
And my Switch, can't wait.
Then you'll be able to
4K
see
Switch, let's go.
All the complaints I have about how the Switch scales on a 4K screen. It's terrible. It's fucking terrible.
Cannot wait. But it's funny because we, like a TV is not a priority by any stretch of the imagination. So, yeah.
I mean, it's a big thing. You've been there for less than 2 months. Yeah, less than 2 months. Yeah, because it was like mid-June, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So coming up on 2 months, and I mean, I guess when you arrive, you very quickly make a list of things that are necessities and things that are like later necessities.
Even when we moved in, we had an idea of like, obviously we need like a couch to sit on and a table to eat at, but then you forget the stuff because we still need a kettle, for example. But like we got cutlery, which our place did not have, and there's still things where I'm like, I don't have a multi-plug. I had to order a multi-plug to make sure I could do the podcast, because then like all the wall points only have 2 plugs. So it's like the one wall point here is being used by the router already. I can power the laptop, but then I can't power a second monitor. So we're seeing things that we need, obviously, like as we need them. And there's obviously a list of things we want that we don't need, like a TV. Bedside tables would be nice. That sounds strange. A bedside lamp would be nice. There's things like that where, coffee still happens though. But it's a luxury here, let me tell you.
It's a premium there. So your routine now involves like a lot of walking and commuting via bus and train and whatnot. What's like your routine now? Do you get coffee on the way? Do you get snacks?
No, so let's put this to the test. How much would you pay for an Oscar? This is a takeaway cup. How much would you pay for a cappuccino in London? If you were to hazard a guess.
I mean, do you want me to guess at how much it actually is? Or
no, well, I don't know. How many pounds would you pay for a normal cappuccino?
I technically would only pay about £2, but I know it's probably double that.
Yeah, you're looking not double. It's like £3.50 if you're being fancy.
Yeah, okay.
On average, it's about £3.
That's
but it's funny that
$70 for a coffee.
Oh no, the exchange rate is worse. It's like 75 rand.
Oh God, my
so
God.
This coffee, we're like, this is a treat. Okay, like once in a blue moon.
You can't get one of those on the way to work every day.
No. It's actually funny. Before we moved, one of Lenska's friends, we saw them in February and they live in London. And long story short, she basically said like, yeah, we don't see people getting coffee to work. And we're like, oh, okay. I guess that's... She lied though. People do get coffee here. It's just expensive.
They're just rich.
Yeah, but they're just rich. Look, I think it's all relative. Like if you're earning pounds, it's like it's definitely still... It's like South Africa. I mean... 30, 40 rand a coffee is still like, oof, every time it's a lot of money to pay. But in terms of our commute, it's we very lucky in that we found a place that's like on a bus route. So we can just catch the bus. And Lenska and I work literally 5 minutes apart from each other, which is cool. So we catch the exact same bus, get off at more or less the same stop. And like I was saying to you before we started recording, the bus takes like 35 to 40 minutes depending on traffic. And I know people go like, oh my God, 35 to 40 minutes. But for London, that's like, it's a blessing. Anything under an hour is a huge win. And remember, I'm on a bus. I'm not driving. I'm literally switching. I'm snapping away in Marvel Snap, still doing my thing. And it's really nice. Yeah, I
mean, I drive 30 minutes minimum to work every day anyway. And that's actual driving where I have to focus.
Yeah.
So I would take your setup any day of my life.
Yeah. But it's been good. We settled now, and it's cool that we can start podcasting again. And just a note on that, a disclaimer: I am doing it off a laptop for now. I am building a PC in the near future. So if the video quality isn't quite what you're used to, all your listeners will be fine because we've got Audacity, and that's a whole separate thing. But if the video quality isn't quite what you're used to, maybe I'm noticing there's a little bit of delay and stutter sometimes when I talk, just bear with us. It's temporary. It's not. It's not
we're figuring this out. And when you have a much more powerful PC behind you, then a lot of these things will be alleviated as well, because you're doing a lot that side. You're like streaming video, you're capturing it, you've got all these things set up in OBS.
Like, what's going on?
Help me.
But everything seems to be fun. I don't know. I'll have to look at the video after and see if it actually did okay. Yeah.
So this is going to be a slightly different episode, just because it's like we're back and we're just kind of like catching up on things that have been happening in the past 2 months. So I think we're going to be chatting a bunch about like games we've been playing over the past 2 months, and not necessarily focusing on more pertinent like news or stuff like that. So this is more or less just an introductory. Like an introduction again.
Format.
This won't be the format always going forward. We will be back to like a regular format again soon. But I mean, you obviously, now having done the move, you've had very limited time to play a lot of games, but I know you've been getting time in here or there with a bunch of them. Which one do you want to dive into first?
Let's just talk about the one that everyone's dying to talk about or hear us talk about. I know you guys have waited months.
The 2-month-old game. Well, 1 month, I guess.
I mean, it's
Final Fantasy 15.
So it's 5-6 weeks.
16, sorry. Jeez. My goodness.
Stuck in the past here.
Sorry.
Again, sorry for the delay, guys. I've literally moved my life. But one of the first things I did when I got here was got my PlayStation because I was like, I need to play Final Fantasy 16, and then I promptly did not have a lot of time to play Final Fantasy 16 because I was looking for a place to live. But now that I have a place to live, I have played only about 20 hours of this game. I know I don't think you've rolled credits, but I know you like on the home stretch.
Yeah, I'm literally at the like point of no return final mission type thing, and I'm like 55 hours in or something like that.
Okay, and you've done all this. You've done like all the side quests as much as you can. Okay,
I've decided to be a glutton for punishments and do all the side quests, which every now and then feels like it's worth it. A lot of the side quests are not that good, but I feel like they put some really hectic character details in some side quests that probably should be in the main quests, but that's why I'm doing them, because I think those are pretty important to the story, and I quite like them when they do pop up. So yeah.
But my gut reaction after 20 hours is that Final Fantasy 16 is a real good time. It's interesting because I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan. Like, I've played most of them, bar I think in the mainline series I haven't gotten around to 12. I haven't rolled credits on 13. Okay. But I've played every single one. So like, this franchise as a whole is very special to me. Like, it's been part of my gaming journey since I've been a kid. Like, Final Fantasy VII was my first RPG. So to play a game like this, and going in, I didn't really know much about the game, like, intentionally. I knew, like, the extent of what I knew was, it's being made by the combat person who did Devil May Cry. The name completely eludes me now. And then even that, I was like, is that really Final Fantasy? Like, it's meant to be a turn-based RPG, and I know 15 and 13 they've all like sort of started transitioning away from that.
And 7 remake to an extent as well.
But 7 remake, that was a clever. I think that's still probably the best modern version of Final Fantasy, because it just marries real action with the turn-based thing so well. Like, I really like how they've done that system. But now, like, Final Fantasy, 15 was also like full-on action, but now 16, it feels like a character action game. It feels like a Devil May Cry or a Bayonetta.
100%.
Which is something I wasn't quite sure I would gel with, but man, it's really good. Like, the combat in this game, it's maybe maybe it lacks the RPG depth that some people would like, but I'm early, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I know when you unlock more abilities, you will have more customization in terms of, what sort of abilities do you use and how do you use them and when do you use them. But yeah, it's long and the short is that it's really good. Like, I'm all in this game, and I'm shocked by how much I'm enjoying it, because I was a bit like, I don't know. Like, I liked 15, but I acknowledge it wasn't the best Final Fantasy. They had like huge problems. 16 is really just blown me away with the scope of the story, the level of cinematics, and just how things keep getting like bigger and bigger. I'm like, oh my God, like, where is the story going? I don't know. But I'm very excited to see where it does go. So that's my knee jerk.
There's a lot of like escalation in this game, and like, I think it's very easy to see the influences from like Game of Thrones that they were talking about pre-release. Like, it does have that like warring tribes, political intrigue. Even the map, we were talking about it earlier, looks like the intro to Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? I do get the criticism that this is far less of an RPG. I don't think that ever really rectifies itself later on. Like, you get access to a lot of different powers throughout your journeys, but you're still limited to like essentially 6 spells at any given time, because it's 2 according to each icon that you get access to. And you can mix and match there and kind of try and synergize those. But at the end of the day, the most they're doing is this ability. Numbers. This ability does more stagger damage, or this one does more actual damage, and that's that's kind of the total of it. So for long periods of the game, I settled on the same sort of build for a very long time before I got access to something new and just kind of like experimented and then found something else that worked a bit better. So in that sense, you are kind of role playing, but it very much is a character action game at the end of the day, which probably will, like, I can understand people who come to Final Fantasy and are like, this is not why I play these games. And that's fair. But I do think that this is a nice new reinvention for the series. I don't think this is going to be the standard going forward. I think this was them trying something different.
That's
and I think it works for this game. So
that's a nice thing with Final Fantasy. Like I laughed yesterday. Like I basically said the same to Lenska. Like, shit, like I'm really enjoying this. Like I'm a big fan, as she knows, and I think it's really good. But then I explained to him, like, just so you know, like, I'm a big fan, but if someone like you wanted to play, for example, Final Fantasy XVI is completely separate. They all are. Like, you don't have to play 1 through 15 to be like, oh wow, where's the story going now? Like, but I think that works in the franchise's favor, where every game is different. Like, there are common threads or themes throughout, within in certain places, but like Final Fantasy 17 might go straight back to turn-based. They might go, oh no, like, let's go back to our roots, proper turn-based RPG, which they haven't done actually for a long time.
Very, very long time. I mean, 13 wasn't that, 15 wasn't that.
No. So I wouldn't be shocked actually if 17 is the return. It's the Mortal Kombat 1 of the Final Fantasy.
Yeah. They just reboot every time.
Oh, Square, please never do that. I'll be so upset if you go.
If they just go back to Final Fantasy 1. No, I like that they keep doing each new one as a numbered one, because, like you said, it is at this point it is an anthology series. Like, they all just kind of tell their own story, and then you get every now and then one that spawns its own sequels. Like 13 had technically 3 entries in it. And I think it was it 10 or 12 had 2 entries in it? So,
10 had 10 2. Yeah. And even
10 2.
So 15 had the base game, but there was a lot of DLC, which I haven't played, but apparently was very good.
It had episodes for all of your companions. So like episode Ignis, and I actually don't even remember the others. I just, Prompto
and Gladio.
Gladius. But that was kind of cool. And those were like, not sequels per se, but like you said, they just extended the story. And I wonder if we're going to get more for 16. Like, I haven't finished it, so I don't know where it kind of ends. But I would 100% take more of this world, because I think it's super, super interesting. And I really like how they've constructed the different kingdoms around the lands, and how they kind of all have their own different religions, and how that ties into the sort of magic around them. So it's really cool. I really, really dig the story. I do think it kind of leans away from that Game of Thronesy political intrigue near the end, and I don't think it's as much of a bummer as I thought it would be, like, as some people led me to believe. But it is definitely a very different shift, and the sort of like focus for the game becomes quite different. But it's still super interesting, and I think this cast of characters is super interesting. I gave a lot of shit to it prior, because like the guy's name is Clive, which is super fucking stupid, but I think he's a great protagonist.
I really like Clive. I think as protagonists go, it's such a weird thing, because like I immediately compare him to like Cloud or Squall or
Noctis. He's definitely smarter than Cloud, I'll put it that way.
But it's funny, because those you kind of, they take a while for you to come around to liking them, because I feel that way. Like Cloud, like he's a bit of an asshole, and only as you get to play, like, oh, like he's a pretty cool guy, he's just got problems. Clive, I feel like from the get-go, I'm like, oh man, this poor dude's been dealt a bad hand, and like I'm watching him come to terms with how things have played out and how he's taking, control of his destiny. And I'm like, I really like him. Like, it's a pretty boring name, but as characters go, I think he's a fantastic Final Fantasy lead. And then just bouncing off of that, to go back to the Game of Thrones comparison, I'm sure those of you listening and watching, if you know anything about the game, I'm sure you've heard people say like it's definitely a more mature Final Fantasy. And that's like partially true because I think Final Fantasy for actual decades it's always dealt with mature themes in different ways. But like I think this game does definitely ramp up the maturity and like even just how visceral it is. Some of the scenes they show like people being killed or just imagery on screen, I'm like, damn, like okay, like they're really going all in. This is a mature entry. And then even in terms of the story, I'm like, yeah, it's quite it feels like Final Fantasy is always grand, but it feels like how like Game of Thrones is just the best comparison because there's a lot going on, but it's done in such a way that you can still understand. Like obviously it takes a while to learn what all the kingdoms' names are and what the characters, but when you know, you're like, oh, like this is a very intriguing story. Like I can see how it's all coming together or how, you know, the threads are being pulled or formed. It's very cool on that front. So I'm quite chuffed.
It definitely does feel like one of the more mature entries that, I mean, I'm far more limited in my scope of like knowledge on the series because I've played far fewer entries. But, you know, like 7 has some interesting themes, you know, with regards to like environmentalism and climate change. But like this one feels like a lot more human in the sense that it's very human problems that are being discussed here. And like Clive essentially coming from one of the minority groups in the game is quite an interesting thing because he has empathy with everyone because he understands the plight of the people that are being like downtrodden, without coming off as like, oh, you weren't someone who was exposed to that, you know. So yeah, I think it's really cool, and just the mythology around this game, like how it's weird. It's like in so many games you see people who are able to wield magic as people who should be, you know, celebrated, whereas Final Fantasy 16 does the complete opposite. And it's like, no, those people who are able to wield magic are technically slaves, and we don't give them the same rights as other people, and we're going to make them use their magic for the betterment of our society until they literally die.
I'm glad you brought that up because I definitely wanted to touch on how that is such an interesting, like, for lack of a better term, like twist on a typical RPG. Because you're right, it's like in the typical, it's like, oh, you can use magic, like, whoa, you're like a noble person, or you know, you get society's respect. Whereas it took me a while to like. There were points at the beginning of the story I was like, hang on, am I understanding this correctly? Because you can use magic, you're like the scum of the earth, and that's how they frame it, and that's how the story, like, that's one of the foundations for the story. It's like, if you can use magic, you're a branded person, and you really are like scum of society. I was like, that is such an interesting, like, I can't think of any recent media that I've consumed that's had that sort of twist. So I really enjoy that as well.
And the fact that like people who are able to use magic are like all beholden to this curse where the more they use it, the quicker they are bringing on this like life-ending disease. Yes. So it's kind of awful to think about, like, they're essentially put into slavery to use their magic for the betterment of their masters, basically until they become like disposable batteries. They run out and they die, and it's awful. Like, put it this way: Final Fantasy 16 is not subtle about these things, at all. No, it is very on the nose. Yeah.
So I mean, on side quests, like you've said, some of them are very throwaway. But there's one part of the story where I did 2 side quests where it's very on the nose of like, hey, we want you to know that Branded are scum of the earth. And these 2 side quests like really show that. I was like, and that really took me back.
People treat them horribly. Like,
like I obviously won't dive into them for spoiler reasons, but you know what I'm talking about because I mentioned it on Discord. But I was really like, whoa, that's damn. These poor Branded like really have it rough. What a shit world for them to live in. But
then I guess if you're lucky enough that you were one of these Branded that also has access to an icon, then it's a completely different set of circumstances for you because you're kind of like heralded as the savior of a particular realm that you're part of. Unless you're like Jill, who turns out she was part of a tribe where everyone there who used magic was just scum of the earth. So she got the crap end of that stick. But But yeah, the icons are kind of cool twist again on Final Fantasy lore, I think.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you've always had summons in games, and these summons, the summons always pull from mythologies, and like the icons here are technically the exact same summons you might have seen from other games. Like, I think Ifrit has been in many of them. Ramu definitely has.
And Shiva, those are like staples.
Shiva, yeah.
They've since like the dawn of Final Fantasy 3, I think, so when summons first appeared. It's cool, yeah, that they're like integral to the story.
Yeah, completely integral to the story. Like the people who wield these icons are big power players in the story, and you as Clive are seemingly the only person in the world that is able to wield multiple icons. And it leads to these really climatic battles that I think are very expensive. You can see a lot of budget was spent on these exact battles. They're not, I don't think they're the most riveting like combat scenarios, like when you're playing there are some standout ones, like definitely ones you are getting up to that I know where you are in the game, like they are probably two of the best coming up. But yeah, they're just fun spectacles. I think visually they're just incredible to see play out, and they're full of like, that's where the anime nonsense gets ratcheted up to like 100 because it's just like it's weird. Like you have to like stave off an attack by mashing the square button, like you're playing Azura's Wrath or something. It's really fun though. I like it quite much.
Yeah, but I was gonna get to that as well. Is that like, guys, as little as I knew about this game, one of the key things I knew was that icon battles are a core feature. And I remember seeing either a video or a screenshot where it's like two icons battling, and there's health bars in the top. It looked like a fighting game, and I was like, what are you doing, Square? This doesn't make sense. I don't want Final Fantasy icon, or these
Final
like
Fantasy
a Street
Tekken.
Fighter. Yeah, like I don't want that. But having seen how those scenarios, because we didn't know anything about the story, like I don't know how often that's going to play out. But now that I'm in the story, I'm like, oh, it's just like once-off spectacles. And you're right, like the gameplay takes a back seat. It's all about, this really cool cinematic and how it plays out. I'm like, I'm all in. Like I'm in. I love it. I don't care. Like I know people who don't like JRPGs will look at that and like roll their eyes so hard. I'm like, I don't care. I'm here for it. Show me, make the fighters bigger, more Dragon Ball Z. It's cool. Like I want to see it.
100%. But you're right. I think that's a good point. They aren't overused. They're not something that happens every hour. They are like act-ending spectacles that round off like a particular story arc. And I think they're used to great effect there. I probably can count the total number of them on like one hand. So I mean, they're done really sparingly and very well.
I think visually as well, it's such a weird thing because I think the game, like it's not the most cutting edge looking game. Like, and I don't mean that as an insult. Like if you compare it to something like recently Star Wars Jedi Survivor, like that's a very pretty looking game. Final Fantasy 16 is really pretty, but like when it comes to,
it's not on that level.
No, it's not on that level. But when it comes to the cinematic stuff, I look at my PlayStation, I'm like, oh my God, this poor thing must be stressing because there's a lot going on screen. Like the scale of those battles, there's a lot going on, and it just runs. It's really cool.
Yeah, it runs super well on PlayStation. Like, I think I very much appreciate it being on PS5 because the loading is like super like low. Like jumping around the world and fast traveling is really easy. The scale of the world is quite large, which I appreciate. But you're right. Like, if I'm not mistaken, this was based off of the same like engine work that was done for Final Fantasy XIV. So it's like a whole new thing to bring to consoles and to adapt. And it doesn't look the best, but I think it's got a really good art direction. I think everything looks really nice,
Yeah, I just want to stress, I don't think it's a bad looking game at all. I think it's a beautiful game, but it's not quite at that level of some other games we've seen, but it is beautiful. Like I love the way it looks. And there's some good art direction.
There's some good lighting moments in there, like when you're walking through a dark like castle and Clive like throws up that little orb of fire so you can see that. Those little moments are real fucking good.
I just pan the camera around and I'm like,
there's moments. But I agree with you. Like there's sometimes you're exploring, especially like the open world, and it's like, well, this feels a bit empty and bland. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's nothing that got in the way of me enjoying the game, and me enjoying a lot of the characters. And yeah, I'm like kind of sad that I'm near the end of it. But it's been it's been a very surprising thing for me, because I knew I was going to play this. Like I knew that I was interested in this, and I knew that I was going to pick it up and give it a go. But I didn't realize how quickly it would sink its like hooks into me and like not let go. I've been playing this game, basically it's the only thing I've been playing since its launch, because I just have like far less time to play games now, and it's been nice to chip away at it a few hours at a time. And I love it a lot, in the same way that I loved Final Fantasy 15 for all its issues. Like I love that game. I think it's not nearly perfect, but I feel the same for 16, but I think 16 overall as a package is a much better cohesive
I think it's a better Final Fantasy
thing, than Final Fantasy 15, and I've really enjoyed my time with it. Yeah,
it's a good time.
You should play it. Yeah,
I'm very keen to keep playing. Oh, who's that? Is that Toby?
No, it's Abby. She's actually bugging me. She keeps walking up and down. She has this thing where as soon as someone's sitting at a desk, she's like, "Cool, I'm gonna come fuck with you." That's nice. Just her MO. Yeah.
Tell me about Final Fantasy. It's good.
So every time I move my mouse, she just like headbutts my hand, and I'm just scared I'm going to click something that I shouldn't.
Stop recording.
Here's a tail. There we
nice.
go. Good Lord.
Cool, but yeah, that's Final Fantasy 16. I'm very keen to keep playing it, but yeah, from my 20 hours and your almost finished 55, 60 hours, would recommend. Great game.
Yeah, definitely would recommend.
Really
and also like 55 hours, it's kind of crazy to think that is almost a somewhat short game now.
Well,
but yeah, I'm kind of happy that it's only
you're doing
around
everything
50.
and it's only 55 hours. I'm like, man, that dream.
You could easily, if you mainline this game, and
I think
like I'm in two minds of whether or not you should
30.
do that. Yeah, 25 or 30 easily. I know Jeff did that, and it was around like 30 or so hours. So yeah, you can definitely do that, and I don't think that's like you're not going to get less of a game because of that. I just wish it was better. I wish there was like a delineation, like some games do, where they go like, this is an important side quest and this is a different side quest. You know, like character side quests and other ones.
Last thing I'll touch on, I've noticed some side quests have an icon above it, like a plus,
like a little plus,
and at no point do they explain like, oh, those side quests usually have some benefits. Because I was like,
those are all upgrade side quests.
Yeah, I was like, what is this? And I did it. It's like, oh, this quest gave me whatever. I was like, oh,
those
like
you should absolutely do. Yeah,
yeah. Like the one quest gave me. I mean, I don't think this is a spoiler. It's a Final Fantasy. The one quest gave me a chocobo to ride. I'm like, you could.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts that's in a side quest.
You completely miss this and then just have to run around the world.
Yeah, it's crazy that's in a side quest to me. Yeah, you'll get more, which will help with like your healing and the number of potions you can carry and stuff like that. Like, it's annoying that those quests themselves aren't that super fun to play, but yeah, they are super. I think very vital to like continue the game. Like, I don't think you will fail to finish the game without them, but they certainly help me, especially if you're like going after some of the bigger monsters on the hunt board. They will whack you for 6, no problem.
My goodness. But yeah, that's Final Fantasy 16 at last. We spoke about it.
Abby is now settled on top of my PC and is dangerously close to my power button.
Nice.
I do not
the
like
podcast
this.
right here.
Yeah, listen, if I just fucking disappear, you know what's happened.
Amazing. Cool. Is there anything else? Like, I can just tell you from my side, I'm not going to get too in the thick of it, but obviously because I've been so disrupted with moving abroad, that the only things I've really played other than Final Fantasy have been, I've played a lot of Marvel Snap, a game that keeps on taking all my time, and I've played a fair bit of Tears of the Kingdom. I'm about 70 hours in, and sure. I love that game. Like, still chipping away at it. It's funny because I think if you play that game thinking I have to roll credits on it, it's the wrong way, because like it's too big. Like, you could mainline it and do it probably in like 20, 30 hours. But I've heard
getting credits there is not that long. So
I feel that the moment you decide like this is my Switch game, I'm gonna play. It's gonna be a slow burn. I'm gonna play it for 6 months. Play like an hour here or there. Like I think that's the right way to do it. At least that's how I'm doing it. And it's cool to think like I've put that much time in, and I'm still, I'd say like maybe halfway. I've got a lot to do, but it's not overwhelming because I'm in no rush to finish it. So it's anytime I have time on my Switch, I can play it. I say this.
So are you chipping away at it while you're doing like your bus rides and stuff like that, or
okay. And I play like a little bit in bed. But do you want to talk about apartment essentials? Like we need an extra pillow each. Like we've only got one. So it's very difficult to like prop up my neck.
Oh, I see. I was going to ask him Switch. Like, I sleep with one pillow. That's no problem.
No. It's like, I sleep with one pillow, but it's uncomfortable to play Switch in bed. So I'm only really playing on the bus.
Listen, you've got to level up. I mean, you need a side table bed stand for this, because I know you said you didn't have one, but you got to get one of those stupid like twisty arm things that hooks your Switch.
You joke. I've looked at one. I'm like, how much do those cost?
Yeah, it would be game changer. You just lie down and just play with like a Joy-Con in each hand by your side. It would be great.
I'll do that. I'm telling you, I've got access to Amazon here that the extent of dumb shit you can buy knows no bounds, and I will 100%.
Amazing.
You can search anything, it exists. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this to you before, but sure, the amount of things I'm going to get you to pack meal for me.
Oh, with pleasure. If I have the space with it. Wow, it's raining. Who could have seen that one?
Shocker, yeah. Who could have predicted this? It's raining in London. Who
Can't
knew?
believe it.
In summer, yeah.
That's me. I don't know if you want to touch on anything else you've been playing in the last 6
I
weeks,
genuinely haven't been playing anything else besides Final Fantasy.
Nice.
I lie. Actually, I lie. I reviewed in the space between, I can't even remember if I talked about one of these on the podcast because I can't remember when we did it, but I played a couple of games for review. One of them was like an Aliens game that was like a turn-based sort of, not turn-based, it was like an XCOM thing. Anyway, It's called Aliens Dark Descent. It's sort of like Diablo meets XCOM meets Aliens. It's fine. I think it's totally fine. It's like what if XCOM was more action-based? So you still take cover and you're still commanding a squad and you've got like abilities that you can deploy, but it's not turn-based. It's like all in real time. And the gameplay only slows down when you choose abilities and stuff like that. It was kind of okay. I found it incredibly difficult for no real reason at certain points. But other than that, it was like a totally okay alien game with a good atmosphere, but not a really interesting story or very interesting like upgrade mechanics that XCOM like kind of nails. So yeah, it was okay. The other game I did play for review, which I really, really, really enjoyed, was Viewfinder. So this came out a couple of weeks ago on PC. I think it's on PlayStation as well. And it's a very short game. I took about 4 hours to finish it. I finished it in like one sitting.
Nice.
And it's a game that reminds me a lot of Portal in the sense that you've got a singular mechanic that the whole game is kind of built around, and that each of the levels kind of pushes in a new direction. So in Viewfinder, the crux of it is that you have like Polaroids that have like a picture on them, and you can like hold them up in front of you and then project them out into the world. So say, for example, there's a big gap in front of you and you've got a picture that shows a bridge. You can like put that up and line that up with like the gap and then click action or whatever, and then the bridge is suddenly in that space. Initially, it's kind of cool because they teach you this mechanic by only giving you specific Polaroids that you can work with. So they always work within the context of the level that you're in.
Yeah.
But then very quickly, you're given access to a camera. So you are empowered to kind of make the solutions yourself. You're meant to look at the environment around you and be like, I can use that, take a picture of it, and then move it to somewhere else and then project it and then like create a solution via that. And I think the coolest part of this is like just seeing that happen. Like from a technical standpoint, it looks like magic. Like if you're at all interested in this game, you need to look at like a gameplay trailer to kind of understand what I mean. It just looks surreal the way it works. But then I also think the puzzles evolve in a very satisfying way that allows you to start thinking about how you're using these pictures in different ways, like how you're rotating them, how when you take a photo, it's not necessarily just capturing 2D information, it's capturing 3D information. So things that are maybe in the background of the image that you capture actually get projected out as well, and how you can use that to your advantage. It's a super cool game, and I haven't played a puzzle game in a long time that's kind of captured my attention like that. And that reminds me a lot, like I said, of Portal in its simplicity and complexity kind of like balance. It could use a bit of a better story. I don't think it's that fantastic. But there's a cool cat like character as your companion that I think is very fun. And there's some cool conversations.
Why don't you say so?
It's a cool game, and I think it's cheap. It's like $100 and something on Steam.
Well, I was going to say, did you play it on PC?
Yeah, I played it on PC. I played it on Steam. It's like quite expensive on PlayStation for some bizarre reason, but on Steam it's like $100 and something, 4 hours. It's really good. Would recommend for a weekend where you're just looking for something new. And yeah, it will run on anything, so I think you're fine on that front.
Nice.
Yeah, and then just loads and loads and loads and loads of Final Fantasy. So that's primarily what I've been playing. I've hardly touched Zelda since Final Fantasy. No, that's a lie. I haven't touched Zelda since Final Fantasy arrived. So yeah, that's taken a backseat. But I am keen to get back to that. If I kind of like stave off the temptation to play Baldur's Gate 3, even though I know I'm not going to enjoy it. Like I've played games like that, but there's something about it that just is like, maybe I should play that. Maybe I should give this a go,
Can I tell you, I think you and I are on the same page where on paper, I like the idea of the game. I'm like, oh my God, like I can role play anything and it's this big open world and that sounds very exciting. But like, even just saying that, I'm like, oof. I know I'm a contradiction because I said like, I don't have 200 hours to pour into a game and I'll go put 200 hours into Tears of the Kingdom probably. But like, it's different where Baldur's Gate is a thing of I have to sit at my PC and put in a lot of time into this big detailed world, which sounds awesome. But I'm also like, I'd rather play
it sounds like a bit
4
much,
other games in that duration, 5 other games. Like, no, by no means do I mean as like an insult to the devs of the game. Like I have a huge amount of respect for that studio because I think they're like leading the way on RPG, those specific kinds of RPGs. Like they are
100%
the benchmark. So if you're playing Baldur's Gate 3, like good for you. I hope you enjoy it. I can't see myself playing it for that reason of like it's just too big and too overwhelming.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's weird because I've played their previous games like Divinity, Original Sin. I played the second one with a friend. Oh, not my friend, my cousin, who's very into those games, and he's played it multiple times. And like is like, oh, we'll play co-op here, and I'll guide you through it. And I was like, cool. And we played a few sessions, and it was fun. But I think without that sort of guide, I don't know if I would enjoy it as much because it's just so overwhelming and there's so many systems going on. And
I think if you're into like just tabletop role playing in general, that is like that game is made for people like you. Like it's that level.
And I
of
think that's
flexibility
where people are at. Like people have gotten into the tabletop scene, like especially since COVID. So a lot of people are into it. Like, so to have a game that completely represents that sort of chaotic tabletop experience, because that's what it is. Like games couldn't previously capture that because like they were too rigid. Whereas a D&D game is like, anything can happen. And
anything can happen.
It sounds like Baldur's Gate has somehow managed to capture that. So it's super cool. Like from that standpoint, super, super cool. And like, maybe I'll buy it and play an hour and be like, cool, I get it. It's rad. It's just, I'm not going to play much more of this.
You'll play the character creator like, I get it. It's cool.
Yeah, exactly. But it is super cool to see like so many people into it. I just, I don't even enjoy playing tabletop games in person with people. They just don't capture my imagination and they're just, I can't get into them. So like, a digital version of that. Yeah, I'm not sure, but it says volumes that I'm still considering it. You know, the marketing or the allure of that game is really, really powerful. So maybe when it goes on a Steam sale, I'll be like, I could give this a go.
Even just
maybe.
the general zeitgeist of like, we've got good pal Mick who is all aboard the Baldur's Gate train, despite being like, I'm not going to get on the train. It's great. But yeah. Oh, just last thing. We do have access to, is it Assassin's Creed? Jade. So we're meant to be part of is it closed beta?
It's launched now, I think.
But yeah, there've been some problems from a download point of view. Like we are part of it, but I haven't been able to download the game. I haven't received the link, but I think we will talk about that if I
next
can
week or so.
Get hold of it, because
we still have to even see if we're allowed to talk about half of it. So
yeah, but I mean that to me is like a great game because it's mobile only and it'll work perfectly well as I'm now on that commute where I can play mobile only things. So I'm very keen to try that out. But yeah, I think that's 6 weeks condensed into half an hour, 35 minutes.
I mean, not too bad. Not too bad. I mean, it did help that most of it was the same game. So
yeah, thank God. I can't imagine trying to like edit and break out all these things if we had like 10 games.
My goodness, no. I don't think we're going to get to news today because we just haven't really looked at that or focused on that.
I think just again, bear with us. Like we're going to slowly get back into the swing of things, and also keeping in mind that I'm working on a not as powerful setup, which does pose some limitations. I mean, I don't know what this video is going to look like. We'll see when I'm done.
Should we at least do like game releases or?
We can. I don't mind doing that. I can pull it up relatively quickly. Again, if for those watching the video feed, if I look up, it's because I don't have my monitor's landscape anymore.
It's because you're looking at God.
I'm like, please give us more games. We don't have enough games to play. Yeah, I hope I have the right one chosen. Yeah.
Wow, there's literally one game.
News? That is not
quite
the right
literally just one game.
For goodness sake.
It's okay. We don't have to spend time on this. There's coming out on August 10th, Atlas Fallen. That action. It's like a character action game in like the sand. Looks like Darksiders.
Oh, I remember you talking about that game. Okay.
Yeah,
is that literally
that's finally coming out. Yeah, that's quite literally it. Not much in August. Like most of it is near the end of the month. So.
Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. I mean,
but that came out like earlier this week, so it's fine.
What is that?
I have no idea.
Oh, my word.
I mean, the only thing in August that's really tickling me is Armored Core 6. Like, and Lies of P is apparently. Yeah.
Shit, I gotta finish up Final Fantasy 16 real quick.
Yeah, Armored Core looks good.
When is Armored Core?
But
August 25th.
Here's the real game of the month: Smurf's Cart.
Oh my God, I can't believe that.
Can't wait.
Love to see it.
Can't wait.
Cool. Well, I guess that fast tracks us through to questions. Great.
Yeah. If you want to send us questions again, the floodgates are open once more. You can email us checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on all of our social platforms at Checkpoint Chat. Yeah, considering we'll be back to regular weekly programming, feel free to send through everything whenever it tickles you. So yeah.
Cool. So over on Twitter, we have a question from Miguel who says, now he's asking a very difficult question here. Alessandro, would you rather go to the UK to visit Matty than go to Gamescom, or go to Comic-Con Africa and meet up with Ash? So now he's basically... the voice actress of Ash, like from Pokemon, the OG.
Oh.
Who I do not know was coming to Comic-Con, but there you go.
Oh, I do recall that being announced. Yes, yeah.
So now the question is, are you going to be a good friend or an arsehole?
Let's be real. They're going to cancel like 2 weeks beforehand because that is the MO of every single fucking Comic-Con here.
And I would never cancel on you.
I don't even think I'm going to go to Comic-Con this year. Like, I went with you last year, and it was, we predominantly went for a Nintendo thing that ended up not happening. So like, we ate that stupid donut burger, and then we left.
It was worth it. Don't you take that tone like we ate that donut burger. I ate that
donut burger, and I drank a Yoda milkshake.
I mean,
that was not worth it. That was super not worth it.
That was, yeah. KFC's got some interesting ideas. Here in the UK, I've seen a billboard for a teriyaki burger. I must have it.
I will try that. Absolutely.
Definitely going to try that.
I guess you're exposed now to all the fast food there that has bacon on it as well.
Yeah.
You can get a bacon cheeseburger from Burger King.
Fast food, not cheap here. Let me tell you.
Oh, fuck. Food, not cheap.
Food. Listen, grocery store shopping, actually surprisingly affordable. Very much even with exchange rate, like on par with buying groceries in South Africa. Like not a
that's good. That's good.
But I think any time you encounter food that's been touched by human hands, man, like the average KFC meal, even McDonald's, I think like a Big Mac meal is like £7-8. I'm like,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, we have to stop converting because it hurts. It hurts too much.
Jesus, that's insane. Although that is in line with what we saw in Italy, like Euro-wise. Like there was one day I got McDonald's there because I was just so done eating pasta and pizza. Turns out you can get sick of it when you're eating it every day. And just one day I was like, I just need something different. And I got McDonald's and it was like 9 or 10 euros for a meal.
You got the limited edition pasta Big Mac.
Fuck, there was something weird there like that. I think there was a burger with Parma ham on it or something like that. I was like, for fuck's sake. Get out of here.
Cool. Over on Instagram. Oh, sorry, are you done?
Oh, so yeah, my answer was coming to the UK. Yeah, Gamescom. Oh, that sounds rad.
I mean, I didn't even.
And visiting Matthew's a good second, you know.
Oh, wow. The question was literally, will you be a good friend or an arsehole? If you want to boil it down.
Essentially, yeah.
Cool. Over on Instagram, we have, oh my God, more questions came in overnight. So we've got a question from Jared Brapra, who says, Hey guys, so excited to have y'all back. What did you not have on your gaming bingo card since the last show? So what surprise? Oh, I actually have an answer for this. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I saw that DreamWorks is making a kart racer.
What, Smurfs kart?
No, like I remember seeing a headline like Shrek is one of the characters in.
Oh yes, I did see that. Yes,
I was like, excuse me.
Everyone wants to make a Mario Kart.
Everyone wants to make a Mario Kart now, and I just laughed because I'm like, yeah, DreamWorks. You can put in a whole lot of characters from there as well. Oh, and a second one that just came to mind. There was a headline this week. What is that fighting game? Multiverses.
Oh yes, yeah.
The sequel's character roster was apparently leaked.
No, you're thinking of the multiverse. You're thinking of the Nickelodeon one. The Nickelodeon Smash. Yeah, it's getting a sequel already, which is kind of weird.
I was like, okay. So there you go. Those are 2 off the top of my head. I was like, what? Who asked for this?
Gaming bingo card. I really thought the Microsoft Blizzard stuff would be resolved by now. I'm kind of shocked that it isn't. So that, I guess, is one thing. But it seems to be kind of like the decision seems to be set in stone. It's just a matter of like the people in the UK kind of agreeing to certain things in September. So we'll see.
Listen, I'm in the UK now. I can find people and be like, listen...
Just find the CMA, just stop being mean to Phil Spencer.
Please, just can we get on with our lives? Like,
I didn't expect there to be such a big leak for a PlayStation 5 Pro, which, considering who leaked it and the... So, listen, I read that article. That article was full of fucking weird nonsense. Like if you're going to write an article about technical specifications of something that's coming out, and then you preface that with like, I'm not a technical person, and then just whip out fucking technical terms without any sort of context as to what they mean, like, don't write that article, in my opinion. But there was some stuff in there that straight up didn't make sense to me, but that I still think that a PS5 Pro is probably coming, which is kind of weird. I just don't see the real need for one right now. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, it was only 3 years after the PS4 that the PS4 Pro launched. Sure,
yeah,
but the PS4 was fucking old when it launched. Like,
but also
that's not the case for these things.
The PS5, there have been very few titles that have made me go like, whoa, this is using the full power of the PS5.
Exactly. Because I don't feel like they've even scratched that.
No, games are still cross-gen for the most part. So they're like, they're held back by last gen.
Even this week, this could go on the bingo card. Like, they announced that Star Wars Jedi Survivor is getting last gen versions.
Yes.
Like, what?
Excuse me?
Like, it makes no sense. It's just, that thing barely runs on the new consoles.
Good luck with the loading times on last gen consoles. I played the original on PS4.
That thing barely holds 30 frames per second on these consoles. Like, I don't know. It's a big surprise to me there.
Yeah.
What else? I don't know. Hideo Kojima says he's going to redefine Strand. That was one from this week.
Right.
Which is just like, what the fuck does that mean?
What do you mean redefine Strand? You only defined it like 2 years ago.
Death Stranding 2 will redefine Strand. Like, what?
Listen, we give that man some shits, and deservedly so in some fronts. But let's just go back to Death Stranding when he said like, oh, it's a Strand game. You're like, what is this guy smoking? And then you play Death Stranding and you go, oh, I get it. Climbing a bridge built by the community. Like, what a genius idea. I'm like, I get you, Kojima, the Messiah. Please.
But now he's going to redefine it.
He's going to redefine it. I don't know what it means, but I'm like, this dude's got some other plan, and we give him shit, but man, I love him. It's cool. Let's see what this redefined. The spoiler, it's Death Stranding 2. He's just redefined it. He added a 2 on the end. I mean,
yeah, exactly. 2 strands.
This man is known to troll. Okay, like I'll never stop telling the story of years ago when we were working for Lazy Gamer. There was rumors Kojima's going to announce the Metal Gear Solid collection. We'll go, ooh, like it's finally all the games packaged as one. You know, bringing it HD, and the Metal Gear Solid collection was a fashion line. And
I remember that.
100% intentional. I'm telling you, the dude was trolling us.
I remember that, yeah. That was at Gamescom, wasn't it? I remember seeing that on show at Gamescom.
Something, I remember writing that article going, you got us. We all thought. Cool. That was a good question.
I think that's it.
We've got 2 questions from Bester_Bash, who asks, how is Fixed Tiny Setup working? Let me tell you, when we moved into our apartment for Ants, I was very bleak because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to make a setup work here. Like, I couldn't envision how.
Where it would fit,
given how much space we had in South Africa. And it's actually worked out very well. Like, I will, at some point, when I actually get a damn power supply for my PC and build it, I will eventually share photos of what I've done. And I'm actually very pleased with how it's turned out. So like, just quick, long story short, I've got a dual monitor setup, but vertical, no longer horizontal to save space. I have a table for Ants, but it's got enough space to have everything I need. And it's very compact. Like, it's going to work out quite well. So I'm quite happy. It is actually, like, looking back now, and I give you a lot of credit because you've obviously helped me with speccing a whole machine. That case you recommended, man, it's gorgeous. Like, so that's arrived. I can't build it yet, unfortunately. But even I showed it to Lenske. She's like, wow, it's so designed. It's beautiful. I'm like, oh,
it's nice and tiny. It's nice and compact.
No, but it's not only is it small, but like it works with everything we have. Like, it's this beautiful white little unit, and I'm very excited to.
Yeah, the white one you got was a good choice, I think. The white looks very nice. Yeah.
So it's looking hot.
It's a pity they don't have it in, like, they have it in bright orange, but not in bright yellow. Like,
oh my God. I would 100% want that, but it would stick out like a sore thumb in our teeny little space. Like we've got a theme here, okay? It's grey and white at the moment. I'll give you a tour one day on a video call. But yeah, which I suppose leans into our next question, because Bester Bash asked, what does Sandy's keyboard collection look like at the moment? I'm looking at Keychron K8 Pro. Now, before you answer, I'm gonna steal this question for a second. Because my setup is so small, I have a beautiful Logitech keyboard that I bought with me. It's big.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
huge.
that's a full-on
it's like
100 key. Yeah.
It's a huge keyboard on my tiny space, and like I can make it work, but I'm like, maybe it's time I went small. And you're like, oh, maybe you should look at Keychron. I was like, whatever. And I looked at them and I was like, man, these are some really nice keyboards.
They're very nice.
Compact, depending on what you want, obviously. But I'm like, I could get, I think, I can't remember the model, but it's either 60 or 70. I'm like, that could 100% work. It's It's wireless. It'll look really nice.
75% is a really good medium, I think, between like.
So you've ruined me.
You get most of the keys you need, and yeah. Welcome.
I'm like, I don't need the numpad. It's cool. Like,
yeah, fuck numpads.
What am I? Am I an accountant? No.
Exactly.
So on that front, I'm like, I don't need a keyboard now, but maybe on Black Friday, if there's a good special, I'll consider.
You benefit from having access to the entire range, whereas here, like, you have to import them, or like we have very limited. I'm gonna have to bring like 5 back
with me just for you alone. I mean,
yeah, they are nice. Sick. Like their premium ones are a bit expensive, but very, very nice keyboards. My keyboard hasn't really changed, so it's still the same QK 65% custom keyboard. And it's got the same PlayStation little looking keys on. I like 65%. I know for some people that's really small, but like I've got all the alphanumerics that I have. I have the number row. I don't have the function row, but I never use the function row anyway. Yeah. And then I've got like 4 keys that I can customize to whatever I want. So I've got like delete, the tilde, because I need tilde for coding, and like page up, page down. And then I've still got my arrow keys. So like I've got everything. Like I don't really need I'm not compromising, you know what I mean?
I looked at the keyboards, and it's funny how I was thinking, me personally, like what am I willing to compromise? And I was like, I'll say this, I obviously would need them, but I'm like, I don't need the arrow keys. What am I like?
Oh, no,
gaming,
you need them.
Gaming in the 90s, like, come on, who's using those arrow keys? I wouldn't need them. But it's funny. I was like, do I need them? I was like, yeah.
It's the sole reason I can't move to something smaller, like a 50 or 40% keyboard. Like I need the arrows. Like it's a lot of people. What they do is like on smaller keyboards, they have a button that acts as like a layer button. So then when they hold that down, then other keys become the arrows. But I'm like, nah, I need the arrows.
I've got like 35 years of muscle memory. I ain't gonna I ain't about to put on layers and macros and whatever.
No, fuck that noise. No, the only layer button I have is for volume up and volume down. So if I hold like Alt and then press Z, then it does like volume stuff for me, which is like the only thing I really need it for. But yeah.
Cool. And then
Keychrons are cool. You should definitely look at those. I
can't remember what model. I need somebody to explain to me their naming conventions, because you go to their website.
It's very confusing.
It is very confusing.
They also launch a new keyboard like every fucking week. It's insane.
Like, do you want the K5, the K6? I'm like, what does any of this mean? I don't know. At no point do they like.
If I'm not mistaken, their Q ones are like their more premium, like. You can build it yourself or we can build it for you keyboards. The K is like their entry level line. And then they have a new one. I don't know what the other, and that's like ultra premium. That's like $300 a keyboard. So yeah, the Q ones are the ones I like a lot. But the Ks are totally fine. A lot of people at work use a bunch of the K series. So
I wanted to ask because they've obviously got switches. Are those colors? I know it's like, it's not the official Cherry, blah blah blah, whatever that brand is called. But are they meant to like mimic or be similar? So like if I go for a red switch, it'll be similar to what I currently have. Okay.
Yeah. So the ones they offer are Gateron, which are, in my view, actually better than Cherry. Cherry is no longer like the top tier that it used to be. But Gateron, I mean, I've got Gateron switches in my keyboard currently, but yeah, they've got red, blue, and brown, and they correspond to the same thing.
Yeah, I was just asking because I'd be very upset if like now, like no, our red is not linear. I'm like, why?
No.
Just
Most key switch companies tend to stick to those same conventions. Cool. Like blue is clicky, red is linear, nice. Brown is tactile, and then there's like all sorts of different shades in between. But those three are fairly common. Mine ones are black, but they are linear switches. They're linear switches with a very heavy spring, so there's a lot of like tactile feedback to them. I like it.
So it's like a bit of both.
Sort of a bit of it. There's no bump, so it's smooth all the way down, but there is more resistance than a normal red switch. So I quite like it.
Cool. Well, there you go. And then last question. We got an interesting email. Oh my God, let me just find it. From a one Michelle, who says, Hi, I forgot to resend this. I feel like this did come through before I moved, but we obviously...
Oh, is it?
Before... We obviously moved and it just got lost to the ether. So she writes, I got a message from a family member about how dangerous Diablo is. And she attached a... What is it? Is it a study? What would you call it? An investigation?
So the thing says a brief summary on the game's themes and agendas.
Okay. So it is a hilarious question. I was wondering if you guys know about anyone that actually became a devil worshipper after playing any of the games, like referring to Diablo specifically. On that note, have you ever played a game that fundamentally challenged who you are, like and made you reconsider your beliefs? I really think this is one of the more wonderful aspects of gaming. You're totally immersed in an interactive narrative. So my knee-jerk answer is no. I haven't flipped religions or beliefs because of a game, but I do think games are good depending on what they are, on making one think. Or maybe not... like it's not, I'm not explaining it right, but games they're an interactive medium, and they definitely give you a different medium of understanding versus like reading a book or watching a movie. Like you're playing through a game. It's just a different kind of experience. Yeah, but none have made me go like, bam, yeah, Diablo. I'm gonna worship Diablo now. For me, that's been more thing of I'm just fighting evil.
Yeah, I read through this document that was sent through, and it's like I want to laugh at it, but I also, there are a lot of people that take this sort of thing very seriously, but they're taking like a lot of very blatant like things. So, for example, there's a line here that says, where is it? Oh God, this is a video game. What? This is okay. The grammar is very bad. This video game is designed to blatantly lead those who play it quite literally to hell. And there's another line here where it's like, no one can dance with the devil without getting seriously hurt, least of all play a video game with him. And it's just like...
It's missing a lot of context as well.
It is missing a lot of context, but it's taking things very, very literally, as if like this thing is going to manifest something within the real world. Like, and you're never going to stop people who believe in this from believing in it. It's the same sorts of like people who believe that, like, in the late 1990s, like that whole satanic panic around like Pokemon and the fucking, I don't know if you remember it, but like when they used to put those what were they, Tazos in like chips, and then there were these ludicrous stories of like, oh, this kid went to sleep with one of them under this pillow and then he died. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
This is the 90s, early 2000s. The internet didn't exist really, so you couldn't fact
Newspapers just ran fucking anything. Like, it was just nonsense. So, yeah, listen, I have never, ever heard of anyone that has like gone off the deep end because they played a particular game. That said, there is definitely historical... like you look at things like the Columbine massacre and how that was very deeply attributed to those two kids playing Doom at the time, but also negates the fact that they were openly available to get automatic weaponry. They were bullied at school. They were bullied at home, but it was the video game that caused them to do that. It's like shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very convenient to blame something that can't fight for itself back. And
you're also simplifying a very complex thing of like, there's clearly, it's not just a game at play. Like you've said, they were bullied, they had access to weapons. Like, you can't just
there's a lot. Yeah. For all intents and purposes, the game was their only escape. And perhaps if the game was better at being an escape, that they wouldn't have had to take out, you could make that argument as a counter argument. But I think largely the conversations about these things have moved away from video games, which I like because I think they're stupid. Every now and then they crop up again. But it's like, for the most part, the idea of like video games make you violent. There have been so many academic studies, like hundreds, that show from a psychological and a physiological point of view that is just not the case. And just like any form of media, it can definitely influence your beliefs and influence behavior. But does playing one game make you inherently evil? No. There's no evidence to suggest that. So no.
I can speak to this from my own experience, where I went to a very, very Christian school from grade 10 to matric, and I'll never forget, it was around the time the third Harry Potter movie came out, The Prisoner of Azkaban, and I was a huge Harry Potter fan. Like, I'd read those books back to front. Like, I loved the franchise. And the one weekly newsletter is like literally a warning to parents. Just so you're aware, like the third Harry Potter movie is now showing at cinemas, and like we'd strongly advise, letting your kids watch it, because based on trailers alone, it's filled with dark magic and I was like, I remember being like in grade 10 and going, what? Like, at no point have I read Harry Potter and gone, oh yeah, like I can't wait to indulge in some dark magic when I'm done reading this. Like even just the assumption that it's like, you don't know anything about the movie. You're just going like, it's evil. Don't let your kids watch it. I mean, and then even before that, like growing up, you've played Quake 1, right? And Doom. Now imagine playing that as a kid in a very Catholic family. Like, that's real taboo. But at no point was I like, Quake 1, I can't wait to like roll credits and go like worship Satan now. It's like, no, even at my young age, like I can't remember how old I was, but I was way too young to be playing the game. But even then I was like, this is a video game. Like it's a completely separate piece of media, and it didn't make me angry or anything. Like, I don't know. I'd argue that video games have the complete opposite effects. I mean, depending on what you're playing and who you are, because I know games can be rage inducing, but like, I think part of the reason why I am a very chilled person is because video games are like my downtime and my de-stress, my means to de-stress. And I can't say they've influenced my beliefs in any way, but I think I still argue one of the best hobbies, and I love it because it just lets me explore and like chill out and do all sorts of cool things that other mediums can't let me do.
I still also think that this isn't true for all games, but the larger majority of them are still very much rooted in that whole hero story sort of narrative, where it is very much like a good person fighting evil. Diablo is very much that. It is like people fighting against literal hell and like the devil. To go back to what you quoted earlier, like Diablo will literally take you to hell. I'm like, yo, you haven't finished the sentence. Like, Diablo will take you to hell to beat the devil, like, and then come back. Yeah, essentially.
if you wanna argue that point, like, finish the sentence. Like, it'll take you to hell, but like, you just excluding all context. Like, it's hilarious, but So
but you're going to get these one-sided arguments from everywhere. I do like the last paragraph of the email. I don't know if you finished reading the whole email.
Oh no, I haven't.
No, but Michelle says, on another note, I teach high school English and just found out that in AP literature exams, so that's like, it's like AP math. It's like you taking essentially the first year of university in school. You can answer the one essay with any story. I read an account of a kid that wrote about God of War and how it deals with power structures, and it scored the highest score. It gives me hope as soon as I will soon start teaching this course myself. I think that's cool. Like,
that's very
again,
cool.
like games as a medium, there are video games, but they tell very complex stories because they're able to, and depending on which God of War this was written about, you could probably write about something, how like it explores ancient Greek history, or you could talk about the most modern God of War and how it explores parenthood and fatherhood and the complexities of that. Like, you look at a trailer for God of War and you see like action, and you would never guess that is the deep underpinning of that sort of type of game. And I think that's what's super cool about games, is that they can explore these themes within these different contexts that other medium can't. So yeah, cool. Anyway,
that's it.
Definitely not going to go worship Satan after this, but yeah.
I mean, I'm going to go worship Ifrit after playing Final Fantasy XVI,
Basically Satan.
Which I suppose is the closest. It's like a fire demon.
Closest analog to him, yeah, definitely. Just ask him for sun in London, that's all.
Oh my God, please look at this. Cool, but
is this summer for who?
That's a lie. But yeah, thank you for all the questions. And yeah, it's good to be back. Sorry for the long break. I'm sure you all understand why it happened. And again, apologies for, I noticed the video is stuttering a lot. It is temporary. It's not a forever thing. So please bear with us.
Yeah, we will obviously, once you have your big PC, it's definitely going to be a lot better, I think, at just handling all of this. PC. So yeah. But yeah, it is very good to be back, and we're back to regular weekly programming now. So I can say for certain that this has been Checkpoint Chat, and we will be back next week, as always. Now, again, thank you so much for listening. Have a delightful week.
Oh, and thank you for the question. So I don't know if I said that.
Yes. Yeah, no, it was great. Great bunch of questions. Really enjoyed answering all of those. Thank you so much. As always, we'll be back next time. Okay, bye.
Bye.